This week, we've got the game-changing reveal that Angel isn't just a guest at the Hazbin Hotel, but also the spy for Vox himself. So let's try to break it all down. Now, for those who have sudden onset Hazbin amnesia, the recent episode had Vox cornering Angel in order to hypnotize him, with Angel trying to resist. Only to learn that he had been hypnotized hundreds of times before and has been reporting everything at the hotel back to Vox. Because of the power of the hypnotism, Angel is actually unaware of this until this point, but he's been listening in and even sending text messages directly to Vox in order to keep tabs on the hotel for him. It's a smart plan even after sending Sir Pentious in, which Vox made very clear he never took seriously. After Sir Pentious was exposed, it would have the gang thinking they were way ahead of the Vs, and more importantly, that Angel himself was ahead of the 3 Vs, as he was trying to distance himself from Valentino in particular. At this point, Angel was already well under the control of Vox, but after sussing out Sir Pentious, Angel would be made to look like the last person who would be spying on the hotel, leading to Charlie and Vaggie and the others thinking that they had nothing to worry about with Angel even though he worked for Valentino directly, as Sir Pentious was the obvious snake. This led to the pretty big twist this season that Angel was also spying on Charlie and really was the one sending over the more important information. Now, based on the episode, Vox may have a lot of spies like this all over Hell, because of his general hypnotism power revolving around his screens. But to really legally do this to someone, he has to own their soul, or someone who owns their soul, it seems. Vox already has control over all of the screens in Hell, but it's not like he was using this hypnotism power on Charlie in order to get the information from her directly, or even from one of the other higher-ups there like Vaggie, who has a lot more information than Angel. Since season 1, we already knew that people all over Hell were falling for this kind of hypnotism just by watching Vox's screens in passing. But with the addition of soul deals making Angel work for Valentino, Vox is able to use Angel as the perfect spy in the hotel without him ever realizing it. From what we see in the montage, Vox would hypnotize Angel a lot, generally after Valentino and Angel did their escapades together in bed. And to trigger Angel again, all Vox had to do was send a text message with a hypno symbol in order to activate him. From here, Angel would immediately follow the instructions of taking photos once hypnotized and then delete the chat history so he didn't remember it. Angel is a character who is on his phone a lot in the background, and you can go back and see which scenes Angel was likely reporting to Vox in when we aren't looking at him looking at his phone. A big part of Vox's plan involved putting Lucifer in his place so that he can look more powerful than him, which we ended up seeing in episode 5. But in episode 6, we get to see that Vox already knew that Lucifer couldn't smite him when he made Angel spy on Vaggie and Lucifer's conversation. Since the day that Vox became interested in the hotel then, Angel has been not just reporting on the stuff he would usually be around for, but perhaps also listening with his ear to the door around some of the private conversations. And if you go back, some of you will probably find a few moments where Angel is just hanging around after such an important talk, probably in the hallway. Though I haven't really gone back to check for any of these myself yet. Now, the power of hypnotism may seem a bit odd to some fans, but it's based on the idea that TV itself is hypnotizing. For those who don't know, watching TV puts your brain into a different state than it is casually. Normally, the brain is in what we call the beta state, where it reacts to the problems around you so that you can solve them with critical thinking. When watching TV in real life, however, the brain tends to enter a relaxed state called the alpha state, where we stop using critical thinking and start absorbing what's on screen. I believe this probably has its origins in the fact that humans used to sit around the campfire in the deep past while talking at night and especially listening to stories. Bright lights in general seem to have an effect on animals, such as we see with moths being guided by light and thus becoming lost when they're overwhelmed by light, or even deer, from which we get the term a deer in the headlights, as they become hypnotized and stop when they see headlights coming towards them. This would have attracted us to the fire in early human history, but from there we would have evolved a closer relationship with it due to the fact that we are a species that can speak and tell stories. In this hypnotized state while looking at a fire or at the TV, you are more likely to accept what's being told to you instead of fight against it, as you don't have your critical thinking turned on. This made the time around the fire a great place to teach young people about how to survive in the world, making a time and place where children were more likely to listen and pay attention instead of trying to rebel or fight against you with their base critical thinking. But unfortunately, that's led to today, where we turn on a TV screen and then enter this hypnotized state while it tells us news stories and even just fictional stories that our brain isn't fighting against even when we think it is. In this alpha state, we aren't just believing what we were told, but because the critical thinking is turned off in our brain, we are accepting it as some sort of reality on a subconscious level. We may be able to sit there and argue that this is a cartoon or just television in general and that the story isn't real, but our brain doesn't treat it that way even if we verbalize it to ourselves. The more you watch, the more your brain interprets these things as having actually happened to it, and eventually your view of people and the world becomes partially influenced by the way scenarios are presented on screen. Vox has this basic power over a lot of people, with even the first episode of season 1 showing the masses watching TV and getting hypnotized spirals in their eyes, especially when Vox says his big famous slogan in hell, "Trust us." For most people, however, this hypnotism is likely subtle. Otherwise, Vox wouldn't really need someone like Angel to report to him in particular. With the chain of command in soul deals, Angel really has no choice but to do these things, but the hypnotism adds a layer that helps Angel forget. The rest of Hell, meanwhile, has that more general sense of hypnotism, believing what they see on TV and letting it shape their reality. This is something a lot of people talk about these days, with Vox just being a parallel to what's happening with TV in real life. Many of you are likely aware of the controversies where multiple local news stations owned by the same parent organization all played out the exact same script with different hosts about the dangers of believing misinformation online, which the news stations all say cannot be trusted. I'll have our editor Haro roll the clip.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about troubling, irresponsible, one-sided news stories
plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This was a pretty terrifying thing for people to see all cut together like this. Even though if it was just one host on the national news, it wouldn't be seen as much of a big deal despite it reaching the same audience. The truth is, it's the coordination of this event that made people feel uncomfortable with the way it was portraying competing sources of information as not just bad or wrong, but dangerous for our democracy. This isn't news, but a propagandized decision from the top of a big corporation trying to mobilize their audience emotionally in order to scare them into trusting only them. And it did so with news stations that on the national level are seen as competitors, whereas on the local level, the local news time slots are all bought out by one parent organization. Doing this on the local scale instead of on the national news gives the impression that people are being told this by others in their community, others you often even interact with as they all just come from your local town. And the metaphor with Angel doesn't end there. A big problem these days isn't just propaganda on TV and our screens in general, but how all of these devices now spy on us. It's not even just our phones either, but our TVs and devices all seem to be listening in whenever they can in order to curate the best propaganda pieces for us right on our homepages. It's a crazy system of control, and with Vox and Angel, we see this play out very directly with two characters symbolizing the elites through Vox and the masses through Angel. The big question from here is, what exactly is Vox preparing Angel for? So far, he used Angel just to spy on the hotel, but in this episode, we are getting this revealed to us because Vox is taking Angel away from the hotel, and with the help of Velvet, dressing him up for some big presentation. This presentation is something that Vox says is going to make Charlie end her life. A pretty bold statement. It would make sense for that to be his goal after making the soul deal with Alistair, however, as he promised not to lay a hand on her. With that in mind, by Alistair's lawyeristic shenanigans with how deals work, that means he needs to get her to end her own life if he wants her to be removed from play, or elsewise just somehow get her to sabotage herself. One of the best ways to do this would be to take away her first client from the hotel, Angel, who others like Husk have agreed is the one who would be getting into heaven next after Serpentius. Already, the other residents of the Hazbin Hotel have been walking out, and if their celebrity client and the first one Charlie really worked with suddenly were to quit and claim that the hotel was bad for one reason or another, I think a lot of people would quit, leaving Charlie with absolutely nothing. But what do you guys think? If you want more Hazbin Hotel lore, keep in mind that all of my videos for this week are already available in one massive video right here on the channel as part of our early access program, where you can hear all of my thoughts on the episodes the day that the episodes air. Sign up now to hear the rest of my thoughts thoughts on episodes 5 and 6, and be prepared because the day that episodes 7 and 8, the season finale, air, we're gonna have all of our videos and ideas up there as well. Don't forget to check out our big lore breakdown for Magical Girl Madoka over on our other channel, Random Universe, if you're a fan of the show or anime in general. And if you signed up for our Early Access Club, you also get early access to our Atlantis 2 video. Links as always are in the pinned comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time.